This is the face of American music, the voice that sold over 30 million albums worldwide, the man who, with glasses and a guitar, became the soundtrack to an era of peace, love, and wide-open spaces. John Denver was more than a singer. He was a feeling, an embodiment of sunshine and mountain highs. But on one October afternoon in 1997, that feeling was shattered. The news ricocheted around the world, leaving millions of fans in disbelief. John Denver, the beloved folk country icon, was gone. Not from illness, not from some dark Hollywood scandal, but from a tragedy that played out in the cold, unforgiving waters of the Pacific Ocean. How did the man who sang about flying in, leaving on a jet plane, and the beauty of nature in Rocky Mountain High die alone at the controls of a tiny experimental aircraft? Was it a terrible mistake? A mechanical failure? Or was there a darker secret hidden in John Denver's past that finally caught up with him? This is the story you think you know, but you don't know the whole story. This is the inside look at the fatal plane crash that killed a legend 27 years ago. To understand the tragedy, you have to understand the man. And for John Denver, flying wasn't a hobby. It was a passion that rivaled his love for music. He was an experienced pilot with over 2,500 hours in the cockpit. He once famously said, "If I had my choice of how to die, it would be in an airplane. Quick, clean, and at the moment of my choosing." A chilling, almost prophetic statement. But his passion had a complicated history with the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. Just a few years before his death, Denver's medical certificate, his license to fly, had been revoked or denied multiple times. Why? Primarily for driving under the influence arrests. The FAA was concerned. They saw a pattern. But by 1997, he had seemingly gotten his life back on track and his flying privileges restored. And that brings us to the machine. On October 12, 1997, Denver wasn't flying a large commercial-style jet. He was at the controls of a Rutan Long-EZ. Now, this wasn't your average Cessna. This was a sleek, experimental, home-built aircraft. It was the sports car of the sky, fast, fuel-efficient, and incredibly responsive. But it was also complex, and it had one infamous quirky design feature that would become the central mystery of this entire investigation. The stage was set. Monterey Bay, California. A stunningly beautiful coastline, a seasoned pilot, and a high-performance aircraft. It should have been a perfect routine flight. Denver had taken off from Monterey Peninsula Airport just after 5 p.m. He was planning to fly to a nearby airport to refuel before returning. He was in the air for mere minutes. Witnesses on the ground and in boats saw his plane behaving erratically. It wasn't a nosedive. It was a slow, sickening descent. The plane wobbled, lost altitude, and then it slammed into the water at a steep angle, just a few hundred feet from shore. The impact was catastrophic. John Denver was killed instantly. The news spread like wildfire. In an era before social media, it was the evening news bulletins and frantic phone calls that delivered the shock. The world mourned. But even in their grief, the question hung heavy in the air. What on earth went wrong? The National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, launched a full-scale investigation. They recovered the wreckage from the bay. They interviewed witnesses. They studied Denver's medical and flight records. And what they found was a sequence of failures so simple, so avoidable, it's heartbreaking. Remember that quirky design feature of the Long-EZ, the fuel tank selector. On this particular plane, it was located behind the pilot's left shoulder. You couldn't see it without turning completely around. To switch from an empty fuel tank to a full one, you had to reach back, find the lever, and pull it. Now, here's the critical detail. The pilot's seat in this specific plane had been recently modified. It was owned by a friend of Denver's, and the previous pilot was shorter. To accommodate his height, they had adjusted the seat. Investigators believe that when Denver went to switch fuel tanks, his legs got caught under the instrument panel. He couldn't reach the lever. He was stuck. Trapped in his seat, unable to access the fuel switch, the engine would have sputtered and died as it starved for fuel. With no power, the plane became a glider, a very heavy, uncooperative one. The Long-EZ was notoriously difficult to handle without engine power, especially at low altitude. He simply didn't have the time or the height to troubleshoot. The official NTSB report concluded the probable cause was the pilot's inability to switch fuel tanks, leading to a loss of engine power. but they also cited his lack of recent flight experience in that specific type of aircraft. It was a perfect storm of an unfamiliar cockpit, a poorly placed control, and a split-second emergency. John Denver's death sent a shockwave through Hollywood and the music industry, a stark reminder of the fragility of life even for the brightest stars. It joined a tragic list of aviation accidents that have claimed the lives of celebrities who shared a love for flying. The glamorous actress and aviator Amelia Earhart lost over the Pacific. Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper the day the music died. Patsy Cline, Otis Redding, Aaliyah, and more recently Kobe Bryant. There's a haunting pattern of stars whose passion for speed and freedom ultimately led to their demise. It's a dangerous romance between celebrity and the skies. But John Denver's legacy is so much more than his tragic end. He left us with an incredible catalog of music that continues to inspire. He was a pioneering environmental activist long before it was a mainstream cause. He co-founded the Hunger Project. He was a complex, passionate man whose light was extinguished far too soon. The story of John Denver's death is a heartbreaking chapter in music history. It's a tale of a brilliant life cut short by a chain of small, unforeseen events. It reminds us that our heroes are human, that passion can have a price, and that tragedy often strikes without warning. But when we hear his songs today, we don't think of the crash in Monterey Bay. We think of the mountains. We think of going home. We feel the sunshine. And in that way, John Denver achieved a kind of immortality. His voice, his spirit, and his message of love for this beautiful planet continue to fly, long after his final flight came to an end. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into a story that still resonates so deeply. If you found this look into Hollywood history compelling, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more untold stories from the world of celebrity and fame. Let us know in the comments below. What's your favorite John Denver song, and what memory does it bring back for you? Until next time, take care.